covering the political landscape along the I-4 corridor. Welcome to Political Connections.
And welcome to Political Connections, everybody. I'm Ybeth Bruzual. 1 year from now, voters will head to the polls to cast their ballots in the 2018 primary race. Even though it's not a presidential year, some big offices will be on the ballot. Among them, U.S. Senator, Florida Governor, and speaking of Tallahassee, all of the cabinet posts will be on the ballot. And that's because term limits kick in for Governor Rick Scott, Commissioner of Agriculture Adam Putnam, and Attorney General Pam Bondi. And those races already have candidates hitting the campaign trail. One of those candidates joining us now, Democrat Ryan Torrens, running for Florida Attorney General. Thanks so much for coming in.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
You know, in this one-on-one interview, what we'd like to talk to people is about the real issues, of course, that voters want to know most about. But first, we got to get to know you, the person, Ryan Torrens. Is this your first time running for public office?
Yes, it is my first time running for public office, but I can tell you that so far, talking to voters all around the state, that has been a strength for us. People are looking for something different, someone who's not a politician and someone who doesn't owe anyone any favors.
And that could be your recipe for success. So a lot of the write-ups that I saw about you call you a political outsider. You are a lawyer by trade. One of the things that I found out about you, and I'm going to ask you that in a minute. Let's hear a little bit about you. You're originally from Tampa.
Sure.
Where'd you go to school? What about your family? Tell me more.
Sure. I am a fifth-generation Tampa native. My grandmother on my mother's side came to Tampa from Cuba to seek a better life. She came to Tampa when Castro first came in and was creating problems in Cuba. And just the fact that I'm even running for this office is really a testament to how great our country is and the opportunities that we have. I grew up in a working class family. My mom stayed at home to take care of my sister and I. My dad is a tradesman. He's a locksmith. He has a little lock and key company that's been in our family since the 1920s.
Wow.
He's still a locksmith to this day. And growing up in a working class family like that, I just learned really the old school values of hard work and playing by the rules. And my parents taught me that if I worked hard and did what I was supposed to do, that I could achieve my dreams. And I'm sitting here before you today trying to do that.
How do you go from these humble beginnings to becoming a lawyer?
Well, I got inspired to get into politics by the tragic events of 9/11. And it was those events that kind of opened my eyes to the wider world of politics. And so it was at that time when I was 16 years old that I decided to become a lawyer and to one day try to do something with politics to serve my community.
Well, speaking of politics, something that I read about you, obviously you're a Democrat. We know that. That's why you're on the show, because we want to make sure that we get whoever's running for this position, Republican or Democrat or another party affiliation, to tell us about themselves. But one of the things that I found in doing my research about you, consumer protection lawyer, but you saved a client from foreclosure. An HOA was mad about something. HOAs can be confrontational sometimes. And so you saved this particular client. This client, you're a Democrat. The client voted for Trump, President Trump eventually, but they're still supporting you and you're a Democrat. That speaks volumes about what they believe about you.
Yes, absolutely. So that particular client, their homeowners association was trying to foreclose and take their house, and they have children in that house too, over a $150 fee. We went to court for that client and we went to bat for them, and we were able to save their house eventually through a mediated settlement agreement. And so now they get to keep their home. And yes, those clients are for Donald Trump. They voted for President Trump. And in fact, they threw a fundraiser for us at their house.
Look at that.
And most of those people were conservatives who supported Donald Trump, and they're supporting me.
So you can work across the aisle is what you're saying.
We can, because our message is really just about protecting consumers, and that's not really a partisan issue.
Okay, so let's get to the race now. Why do you want to become the next Attorney General for the state of Florida?
The reason I want to become the next Attorney General is because, I started my own law practice to fight for our hardworking consumers and to dedicate myself to that. And as I've been doing that over the last 5 years, I have seen what's been happening to our consumers. I have seen how they are basically getting the short end of the stick, and there's a lot of work to be done. Our Attorney General is supposed to be this state's top consumer advocate, and because there hasn't been much consumer advocacy coming out of our Attorney General's office, a lot of people have forgotten about that. So this is already what I've been doing for a living, and I offer myself to do that on a statewide basis and to fight for our hardworking consumers.
Give me one of the top, if not the top two issues you think the Attorney General's office is facing right now.
Absolutely. So I think one of the issues that needs to be taken very seriously is this opioid crisis. And Attorney General Bondi made an issue of shutting down the pill mills. Well, it seems that there wasn't much thought into what would happen after you shut down those pill mills. Just last year alone, more Americans died from drug overdoses than died in the war in Vietnam. This is a very serious issue. Our people are desperate for leadership, and there's a lot that the Attorney General's office can do to resolve that problem.
How would you solve that problem?
Yes. So first, we'll have to deal with the supply side, which is we have to lock up the opioid dealers. The Attorney General's office has a lot of authority in that regard. Second, we have to deal with the demand side, which is we have to get these people into treatment. They're suffering from an addiction, and until we actually deal with that supply, so with that demand side of it, we're not going to resolve the problem. We have to get them into treatment. Another area where there's a lot of room for improvement is in consumer protection, making sure that the playing field is level, that banks have to comply with the same rules as everybody else, student loan companies, basically everyone follows the same rules. It shouldn't be the special interests get to follow their own special rules while hardworking consumers have to follow higher standards.
I have to ask you, are you prepared to defend all of the laws of Florida, even if you 100% disagree with any of them? And I bring that up because there's been a lot of back and forth, stories written, interviews done with Pam Bondi versus gay marriage, the Constitution of the state of Florida. What are your thoughts on that?
My thought on that is you're supposed to be the Attorney General for all Floridians. And I intend to be the Attorney General for all Floridians. Whether you're black or white, whether you're gay or straight, we need to stop these squabbles over things like this. While we're bickering over some of these issues, North Korea is over there trying to develop a nuclear bomb. And if I'm the Attorney General, I'm going to call on our people to come together and to face our common challenges, and I will be the Attorney General for everyone without regard to all those
should the Attorney General be a partisan position? I mean, that question has been asked many times over and over in different parts of the 67 counties of the state of Florida. There's some positions, whether it's clerk of the court, whether it's a mayor, should that be a partisan position or even an elected position in Florida? And I'm talking about the Attorney General position.
It really should not be a partisan position. Your job is to enforce the laws of the state of Florida and to protect our people. And that's why, I pointed out that there was a fundraiser that was heavy Republican for us, because protecting our consumers is not a partisan issue, and enforcing the laws equally in this state should not be a partisan issue. And when I say that our consumers are getting the short end of the stick, that's Republicans and independents too. That's not just Democratic consumers getting the short end of the stick. So I absolutely do not see it as a partisan office.
What has Pam Bondi's office done? You've told me what you think she's done wrong. Is there one or two things that you say, you know what, she's done right?
I believe that her efforts to shut down those pill mills, that was done with good intention. I just think that there wasn't a lot of thought into what was going to happen after she did that. So I think there was good intentions there, but there should have been some more thought into what was going to happen afterwards.
There's many different roles that the Attorney General could play, and some would say, is it the role of the Attorney General to be the top cop, to be something you've mentioned, the consumer advocate, defender of the Florida Constitution? Is it one of these titles, or is it all of them bunched together?
Well, the Attorney General not only is the top consumer advocate, but also there's a criminal aspect too. Any crime that affects 2 or more judicial districts in this state can fall under the jurisdiction of the Attorney General's office. And so there are prosecutions that are done there too. And so you do have different areas of responsibilities. I'll give you one example, and that is sex trafficking. A lot of people ask me about sex trafficking. Well, Attorney General Bondi has actually closed very few cases when it comes to sex trafficking. Our office will be very, very aggressive in prosecuting those cases because those do fall under the jurisdiction of the Attorney General, and we need to get serious about that. So yes, there are different areas of responsibility into the Attorney General. It's not just one.
Lastly, I want to ask you this. It's your first time running for public office. Walk me through very quickly, we only have a little bit left, of the process of sitting down with your family and your friends and say, golly, I'm going to go for it, because you're going to be on the road a lot. You have been. You were recently in Brevard County speaking to the Democratic Executive Committee over on the Space Coast. So walk me through the process of sitting down with your family and saying, this is going to be time consuming. It's going to take a toll on the family. How did you have that conversation?
So, you know, I actually had that conversation driving in my car with my girlfriend, who I've been with for 6 years. And it was late at night, and we were driving, and we started talking about it. And it actually became a pretty easy decision. And yes, there's a lot of sacrifices that come along with it, but it is a real honor and a privilege to be able to run for public office in the state.
All right. Thank you so much, Democrat Ryan Torrens in our studios here. One-on-one, you're running for Florida's Attorney General. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.